Hi and welcome to another episode of KILIMO Diaries. My name is Violet Njaki and today I'm in the great Othaya County and I've come here today to learn a bit about fruit farming. I don't know which fruit is setting for us, but I am so sure ready to learn and hope are you. Come on. Tumefika Othaya na mimi nakujua kama Zim.
Karibu sana. Yes, welcome.
But thank you so much, Zim. Please introduce yourself so that other farmers can know who you are and so that we can get to talk about the topic of the day.
I am Zachary Ichaura Mwaniki. I am from Othaya. This is Othaya, this is Karima. I am at the junction of Wetima and Karima.
Wetima and Karima.
Yes.
Oh, wewe ndio hapo katikati.
Niko katikati. Niko na kwa shamba ya Macadamia. Mimi ni mkulima.
Full time?
Not really. I have a business in town, but I find most of the time, because it's seasonal, that I find time to do something for the body and for money.
For the body and for money? For
body and for money.
Yes.
I noted when I stay in the shop, I'm getting plump. Wow. You can see I'm big. So I decided to do something with myself. So I decided, because I'm not able to do maize and beans, that I do something that is more permanent for retire. So, and I'm doing this.
So macadamia nut. Yes. Apart from deciding that you want something permanent, yes, why did you decide that macadamia, wacha niende, this is the one I want to plant?
I did a bit of research. I went to a factory in Karatina, and I wanted to buy 10 trees. Those guys told me that 10 trees are too few because macadamia is one of the rarest nuts in the world.
Wow.
They took me around the factory and I saw the kind of investment they had made. And I reasoned that they would not make such investments if there was no money.
Yes, true.
So instead of taking 10, I took 30 seedlings.
Wow, so the macadamia, after you bought your 30 trees, now let's talk about the farming aspect of macadamia. How did you prep your land to ensure that I plant my seedlings well so that you can ensure that what I have will give me quality at the end of time?
I knew that I do 2 by 2 and I apply a lot of manure. Yes. And I was told that it is very good that I have the topsoil separated from the bottom soil.
Oh, okay.
And I mixed the soil with manure, enough manure, and I planted. Then it requires a little bit of DAP for rooting. But basically, what I was trying to do mostly is have enough mulching and enough water. And macadamia it's difficult to do if you're not committed. So I was committed. So I was making sure that every time that I would do some scouting in the morning and sometimes even in the evening. And it was doing well.
Wow. Yes. Okay, so when you were doing the planting, you said you started by the 2 by 2. So when it comes to spacing, after you've planted, you put the seedlings in the ground, how do you space, considering that macadamia, we see them growing way too big?
The ideal spacing is 7.5 meters to 8 meters. An acre does like 80 trees with the spacing. So my land has benches. It is also steep, but I made benches to avoid soil erosion.
Yes.
And to make it a bit more arable. So I did 8.8 meters and 7.5 meters, depending on the benches that
you made. Yes.
And I was able to fit in like 90 something trees.
Wow, that's impressive.
This piece of land, which is like one acre plus. On the other side where my home is, I did like 30 trees. Yes. So in total, I think I have 130 trees.
Of macadamia?
Yes, yeah. Oh. And I wanted to make a lot of money from macadamia. When they are properly established, it is not labor intensive.
Intensive, yes.
So I was reasoning I could make upward of 1 million when I'm old.
Yes, retirement plan.
Retirement plan. That was a good retirement plan. And I felt because you only harvest for like 1 month,
Yes.
I would be able to make money within a short time and dedicate my rest of time to something else. So I decided from that time on that I dedicate myself. People will not be able to see my vision.
Yeah, but so you know where you're heading.
I knew where I was heading to. So I committed myself to planting and to watering, to spraying, because there are some challenges when the plants are a bit young. They have a problem of aphid and such.
Before we even talk about the challenges,
yes.
You said you committed yourself to watering, spraying and all that. When it comes to watering,
yes.
How do you irrigate the macadamia trees?
I was looking at some documentaries and I thought drip would do. But I had a challenge, we don't have water here provided by the government for irrigation.
Yes.
So I did a well, I did power to the well, then I did some drips. I did my own way, but it seemed to work. And I was using most of time drips for irrigation.
Yes.
But I noted water itself could not do enough.
Yes.
So I did enough manure, and I also did mulching. And I would make sure that the leftovers I got from the cows, that I mulched around. So I was able to retain most of the water.
And before you even continue,
yes.
Someone who doesn't know what mulching is,
Yes.
What exactly is that you're talking about, that you did a lot of mulching to help with water?
Mulching is taking organic material, like the leftovers from the cows, the weeds from the when you weed the farm. That is what you put. It becomes fast organic manure.
Yes.
When it has decomposed, and it also prevents loss of water. Now to retain moisture, you need mulching. And I was trying to get any time all the organic material that I would. Then when you prune your fence, so instead of throwing away those branches, they can form part of mulching. If you have overgrown napier,
yes.
You can cut it instead of feeding cows something that is not nutritional of nutritional value. You can mulch with it, and it did well. And the most tricky period is the first 1 year.
Yes.
I noted when the plant starts to grow and you don't water them well, they get into dormancy. So breaking the dormancy takes time. So as long as you let it grow, let it grow. Yes. If you have aphids, yes. Spray so that it does not cease growing. If it grows, it can grow up to even 1 meter.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
But when it ceases to grow, it stays for like 3 months or even 4 months before it starts to bud again. Yes. And grow. So I noted that, and I made sure that I scout every time, that I mulch, I do drip irrigation, and it helped. I was able to achieve this size.
Yes. And this is how old?
This is 4 years.
4 years old. Yes.
And they are starting to yield, especially the Kiambu variety and Kirinyaga variety. Those ones are starting to yield. And Muranga 20, you'll see some few plants yielding. Yeah. So it's doing well.
Yes. Yes. So when it comes to something like pests and diseases, yes. What are some of the pests that affect the macadamia tree? The ones that you faced as a farmer?
Macadamia is hardwood, and the leaves are a bit thick. So
yes, quite thick.
They are thick, yes. So at this age, when they are that thick, aphids are not able to penetrate. Whiteflies are not able to penetrate. The problem comes when they are young, when they are budding. They have a lot of aphids. You will find thrips and all those things. So you must control when it's growing. Usually the first 1.5 years is where you have the problem. But when they are this big, of course they have risen up, they are thick. Yes. You have no problem with macadamia at this stage. Yes. I hear when they are older, you have some problems with the nuts.
Yes.
But right now I'm not facing any major problem. Yeah. But I did face a problem with when they were very young. I had to spray periodically. Maybe after 1 month, when they are budding, you spray.
Yes.
But when they are dormant, you just leave it grow and pick up resources from the soil.
Yes. So even talking about the maintenance, when it comes to pruning,
Yes.
how after how long do you prune? And like, do you prune like once a year or?
You do formative pruning when you, even when they are that young.
Yes.
So when a single shoot grows, you know, one shoot will not give you 100 kgs.
Yes.
So you just cut the bud. So when you cut the bud, it will produce like much more, like 4, 5, 6 buds, and they'll grow bigger, like
Yes.
this. So you can see there is formative pruning here.
Yes.
Because you can see we started with 1.
Yeah, now
it has branched to 2,
Yes.
now it has branched to more,
Yes.
and it's spread out. So you do formative pruning. I know I'm not very equipped with how to prune when they are big and they are producing, so I need more education. And probably that's why you're here. Yes,
So
with your agronomist, yes.
when we talk about the pruning, maybe the agronomist will tell us when they're big how periodically we should prune them.
Yes.
But when it comes when that they've grown, you've pruned, but it gets to a certain point, does it ever get to, you see how big they are when it's 4 years?
Yes.
Can you say that at this point is where they've dwarfed, and like this is the general size of your macadamia trees?
I don't think they'll dwarf. From what the research I've done, it will continue growing, you know, and that's why it gives you, with more space, that's why it gives you 250 kgs
Yes.
with enough space.
Yes.
When you have a space of 8 meters, it will probably give you 100 kilos.
Yes.
But I don't think it dwarfs. But you see, it can grow so high that it becomes difficult to pick nuts. Of course, you expect some to fall on the ground and you pick. But when it becomes big, it is to my advantage.
Yes.
Because the bigger it is, the more seed.
The more seed is going to be ready.
So,
Yes.
and you make sure you fertilize, you put enough manure, and it continues to grow. I don't think it dwarfs.
Yes.
Because the trees that I had, the Tretavira of those days, they grow very big, but they don't behave like Muranga 20 and Kiambus. Those ones have very high branches. You need to cut them so that you have a lower canopy. But I don't think it dwarfs. I don't think so. Because I think from where I have visited farms,
Yes.
it continues producing.
Wow. All through.
The more it is bigger, the more the root structure establishes. So it becomes stronger, gives me more nuts.
Yes.
But I need to know how to manage when it's very big.
Yeah, when it goes to that point. And I believe that our agronomist for today will answer us some of those questions. Yes. So what about intercropping? Have you considered intercropping? And if so, what crops are you growing together with your macadamia trees?
Initially, I did sweet potatoes, but I noted there was a lot of moles.
Yes.
I thought that was not a good idea. They ate my first macadamia seedlings, and I decided to just uproot all the sweet potatoes, and I decided to do tomato trees. I made some bit of money from tomato trees in between because there was space, and finally I had a challenge of white flies. I disposed them, and I have now gone to passion.
Also now you're intercropping your macadamia?
With passion. As I wait for them to form a canopy, that would be difficult to plant anything else in between.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with our agronomist to answer some of Zim's questions and even give us tips to make more out of our macadamia trees. We'll be right back.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
My wedding's around the corner, so I've arranged for us to go out of town this weekend.
Kwani mara yako wapi?
You have the right to men's sex.
He kissed me in front of his wife.
10 bob ama 10k. Umalani.
Okay.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back to KILIMO Diaries. For those who missed the first part, we are in Othaya and we were talking to Zim. Zim has planted a couple of macadamia nuts, 130 trees to be precise. But he talked about some certain challenges that he has been facing when growing these macadamia nuts. And right now I'm joined by our agronomist for today. His name is Cliff, but I'm going to let him introduce himself. And then from there we can continue to answer some of the questions that Zim has about growing macadamia nuts. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Cliff Luby, an agronomist from Oxfam,
Yes.
and pleased to be with you guys in this farm.
Thank you so much. So Cliff, macadamia trees. Before we even talk about the challenges that Zim faces, what is that one fact that you should know, keep in mind when you decide that I want to grow macadamia trees?
Okay, even before you venture into macadamia, the key thing or the question you as a farmer should always ask yourself is, yes, I want to venture into this. At the end of the journey where the fruits are now ready, where will I be taking them? That should be the key question you ask yourself.
Yes. So Zim has talked about that when his trees were young, they were being attacked by whiteflies and aphids. How do you take care of that?
Okay, you find these seedlings, normally macadamia, among all fruits, they kind in some way like the most hardy ones. So what you usually recommend is when you're doing the planting, because you find there are those who can plant them using a spacing of 7 by 7 meters, 7 by 8, depending on how one pleases.
Yes.
So what we usually recommend is you find macadamia at all different stages, that is when they're young, in the middle stage, and even when they get old. The stage at which they usually kind of resilient is the middle stage. But at the young stage, yes, they can be bound to attack by the pests and the diseases. So what we usually recommend, because nowadays people prefer to do things organically and nobody wants products that are chemical bound.
Yes.
What we usually advise is you intercrop with herbs. And when I talk of herbs, there are these like of cloves, garlic, even the likes of onion, because you find these herbs usually have a certain scent which keeps away the pests.
Yes.
Because you find pests can only invade your farm if around the plant there are other plants or maybe weeds, because in those weeds is where they harbor them.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's why we recommend you intercrop with such herbs. Then that will enable the prevention of infestation by the pests in your farm.
Okay, and that is recommended for only when they are young or even when they are growing?
And that is recommended for when they are young, because you find when they are growing, these trees you've seen the spacing is quite big, you can do 7 by 7 or 8 by 7. That means this tree has a wide canopy when it's fully grown.
Yes.
So you find when it's fully grown, definitely it will be pointless to plant anything, because you find all plants depend on the sun.
Yes.
So as to be able to manufacture their food.
Yes. Oh yeah, I remember Zim saying that after they get to a certain age, you can't intercrop because ziko covered.
Yeah. Also, we've seen the tender stage they are vulnerable to attack. At the mid stage they are kind of vigorous. Then also you find that when they are quite old, that is probably because you find they have a lifespan of over 30 years.
30?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when they are past that age, you might also realize when it starts producing, the quality of the nuts might also kind of start dropping. So at that point, normally what I advise is there's no point of now keep investing in managing them. At that stage is now when you are bound now to change your angle and do away with them and plant something else. Because just like humans, the older we get, the weaker our immune system gets.
Yes.
That also applies to the trees. Yeah.
Okay, and what about the pruning? Because he said at this point, yes, he can prune them because of the spacing that he has. But when he gets to grow bigger, how does he take care of that?
Okay, the prunings it's at, you can view it in two angles. When they are tender, you do prune so as to enhance the shooting of more branches. Like you can see these trees, there's no single tree that has one stem.
Yes.
They all have like 2-3 stems from
Oh, true. I had not noticed that. Yes.
So at the tender stage, that's the essence of doing the pruning, to allow the shooting of more branches. At this stage, when they are flowering and fruiting, what we recommend is this. Pruning, you do it after the harvest season. The moment it's off season, that's when you do the pruning. And that pruning, the essential, the reason behind doing it is to prevent the creation of a microclimate beneath the branches. Because you find, yes, this tree can have a canopy of 7 meters, kind of way in diameter. And you find that 7 meters, it's not just from the lower branches, even the top branches, meaning in between there's a possibility of creating a microclimate. And microclimate being there, it leads or gives an avenue of pests zikianza kuishi hapo ndani. So what we usually recommend is when you prune on the side branches, but not complete branch, but you prune from the side branches just to ensure other new branches develop from that main branch. Then you also prune from the top. The reason why we also advise to prune from the top, as much as this tree eventually will grow big, is within the first years or the successive years when you're doing the harvest, you also have an easy chance when doing the harvesting, because as much as when the nuts are ready, they usually drop. Not all drop. And by doing the pruning from the top and also doing the pruning on the side, when the harvest season, the next harvest season comes, it assists you as a farmer, or even makes it easy for you to be able to harvest like from all trees. Yeah, because now the trees are at a sizable size and you're able to access almost all the branches.
So as a farmer who decides to go into macadamia nuts, growing macadamia trees, after how long are you expected to get your yield?
Okay, macadamia, they have different varieties. So depending with the variety you want to venture into, we usually give a range based on the varieties that are common in Kenya. So we can say like maybe from 2 to 2.5 years to 4 years. That is the range we give, and in that has factored in all the varieties in between that gap.
So when Zim was starting, he did his research even when it comes to planting. But what is the general basics, general steps that you need to follow when planting the macadamia tree?
Okay, first, you first have to identify your location. That is by checking out the ecological requirements on where you're going to plant. Because you find somebody who decides to plant macadamia in the eastern region, the lower altitude areas towards the coastal region, he won't be able to get the same yield with somebody like Mr. Zim, who has done it here in Muranga. So you find the ecological requirement is the first thing you have to identify, because site identification is a key thing. Number 2, you go onto the soil. Normally the optimal production is usually between, in terms of the pH, 6.5 to around 7.5. That is the optimal range for production for almost all fruits. So you have to do the testing to ensure your soil is in a good condition. You can also even test the soil to check if it has any kind of infection, the disease-bound, the diseases that are bound to the soil. That's another thing. Then also the nutrition aspect. Normally, there are 3 macronutrients that are essential in all fruits. That is the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So you have to check on the levels of the key macronutrients. That is stage 2, the soil. Number 3, I find macadamia, the easiest way to plant is through a seedling. So you have to identify a certified nursery on where you're going to source the seedlings.
You just don't buy anywhere.
Don't buy anywhere. Because there's no point, you go buy somewhere, it's cheap, somebody tells you it's Muranga 20 or this, then you wait, like he has waited 4 years. So for instance, say maybe he bought from the road. Then when they start producing, he realizes, no, this is not what I saw from somewhere else, because basically he said he was motivated by what he read or the tutorials he watched. So when he starts comparing, sees they're different. So also where you source it is quite critical. How you plant is also a matter of something to consider, because the spacing, it can be 7 by 7 or 8 by 7. If by chance you happen to plant these trees in a lesser spacing pattern, that means 4 years or 5 years to come, you as a farmer, you'll have to incur another cost of pruning, not even pruning, plucking off some trees, because these trees have a wide canopy. So that means even if
Some
you,
will fit.
yeah, they won't fit because the farm will be very, very congested.
Yes.
And that means the moment you reduce the number of trees, again, economically for you based on what you had planned initially,
True.
yeah, it would make sense.
Wow.
So that is on the planting.
Yes.
Then the other stage is that in terms of the management.
Yes.
The regular weeding, addition of manure. One can either do the top dressing or, because even nowadays more farmers, like for him, the way I see he has drip, what we can advise him is to incorporate what we call fertigation. These are just looking for the soluble products that he can mix it with his tanks in the septic tank, so that when he opens for the drip, these are water, as much as it is irrigating, at the same time it's also fertilizing the trees.
Okay, interesting. That is quite, I hope Zim has learned that point. Yes, that is quite interesting.
So we have said weeding, fertilizing, and then also the pruning. It's also an essential thing when the tree is growing. Yeah.
You need to keep on pruning as much as bado zinaendelea kubwa, bado pruning is important. So even as we wind up, Cliff, what about marketing? Finding market for your product. How marketable is the macadamia nut?
Okay, the macadamia nut is marketable because you find okay, initially you ask a question where I mentioned low productivity.
Yes.
And under it, I only mentioned in terms of the how to rectify it. You can do the cross pollination,
the intercropping, yes.
So you find still that low productivity is a factor that is making most farmers not be able to get that market quite well.
Okay.
Because you find this tree has a capacity of producing over 100 kgs when fully mature.
100 kgs.
Now most farmers who are venturing into it, you find most of their trees, per tree is only being able to get between 30 to 50 kg, meaning there's that still gap. One, climatic change is affecting farmers. The reason, okay, it can be something that is beyond human control, but options like drip irrigation are coming in where they can incorporate it so that they can be able to produce better quality.
Yes.
Two, there's this lack of access to farm inputs. Because we find, for instance, like us, Oxfam, what we do for farmers is somebody like Mr. Zim is planted his trees, but probably maybe he doesn't know how to manage it or what to apply it. From our end, what we have is what we call farm inputs. We can give him the products to apply at different stages, because we find there are products that are supposed to apply to the trees when it's at a flowering stage.
Yes.
At times these trees go in dormant stage. You have to break the dormancy.
Yes.
Then also past the harvest season, there's also something you have to apply. So you find for us, we also assist with that, because you find that is also something affecting farmers, because somebody might see his trees have a problem, but he doesn't know where to go to source the farm inputs, or doesn't even know what kind of farm inputs to apply.
Yes.
So once a farmer gets all that right, that is the intercropping, access the farm inputs, then also incorporates any mode of irrigation, then they will be good. And with that, you find the macadamia market, most farmers they operate in cooperatives. That is the only way you're able to get to access the market, because at least with that, even if you're not able to get the quantity maybe they want, but in that cooperative they consolidate quantities from different farmers, meaning at the end of the day your produce will be bought.
Oh, okay. So at the end of the day you'll have sold.
Yeah.
Wow, quite interesting. Thank you so much, Cliff, and I'm hoping that Mr. Zim has learned quite a lot, and he's answered most of the questions that he had about his pests and diseases on his plants, and even marketing, because that was his main point. Marketing, penetrating the market. Well, we've learned a lot today that you need to take care of your plants from when they are young, middle stage, and even in adult stage, and even after harvesting. Remember to take note of that. Young, middle, even in adult stage, and even after harvesting. Well, I've learned quite a lot here today when it comes to planting of macadamia nuts, and I hope that you have too. Well, for now we have to leave, and I'm hoping that we can see the produce that Mr. Zim, maybe next time we can come to eat the macadamia nuts and maybe see and test with Cliff if he actually put it to test what he was advised. Well, until next week, when you go to another farm, maybe same, maybe another different one. Till then, see you soon.